The Dark Knight is hailed by many as one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. I revisited this movie recently and wrote 3 full pages of notes on it. One theme in particular kept coming up time and time again, and that's the movie's colossal connection to the game of poker. I was shocked, actually. In this video, I'll detail that connection. I know you all noticed the Joker cards running rampant throughout the movie, obviously, but there's also a lot of other poker references, both spoken and seen. For instance, when Lucius asks Bruce about the R&D department being reassigned, Bruce says, "I'm playing this one a little close to the chest."
Lucius, I'm playing this one pretty close to the chest.
Fair enough.
It's a quote repeated later on in the film when Commissioner Gordon comes back from the dead.
Go on. You do like to play things pretty close to the chest.
In their first meeting, Harvey tells Gordon that he wants to hit the last game in town.
I think you and your friend have found the last game in town and you're trying to hit him where it hurts.
And Harvey, while interrogating one of the Joker's minions, tells him that he's not playing the odds.
You're not playing the odds, friend.
He also tells Rachel, "I create my own luck."
I make my own luck.
Later in the film, Joker says that you need an ace in the hole, referring to Harvey Dent.
You need an ace in the hole. Mine's Harvey.
And finally, Two-Face says that the only morality in a cruel world is chance.
And the only morality in a cruel world is chance.
Wow, we're talking a lot about chance and luck and playing the odds and playing your hand close to your chest and all that stuff. Kind of makes me think of poker. Poker, even though skill is involved, is 100% a game of chance and odds. The best players know the mathematical odds of winning a hand during every phase of the game. Lau, after being caught by Batman, says the only reason he's still alive is because he's good with calculation.
I'm good with calculation. I handled all their investments.
A skill all great poker players must have. They calculate their odds of winning, in part, by counting how many cards could improve their hand on future streets. Another big factor in poker is trust. When somebody bets big, how much do you trust them that they actually have a decent hand? Nobody knows what cards anybody else is holding, and for that reason, a lot of bluffing is involved. Trust is a huge aspect of the film as well, whether it's Harvey Dent questioning Commissioner Gordon about the policeman that he has in his ranks.
Gordon, I don't like that you've got your own special unit, and I don't like that it's full of cops I investigated at Internal Affairs.
Or Harvey telling Gordon that he wants his trust in their very first meeting.
I'll get you your warrants, but I want your trust.
Later, Gordon yells out, "Is there anybody in this city that we can trust?" And as the Joker turns the city on itself, trust erodes, and people start getting desperate. In the end, when Joker rigs 2 boats with explosives and gives people on each boat the power to blow up the other, they call the Joker's bluff and don't detonate either one. To which Joker says,
Can't rely on anyone these days. You gotta do everything yourself. Don't we?
That's a moment that shoots holes through the Joker's worldview. To him, people are simple. To him, morals are a bad joke dropped at the first sign of trouble. Our nature is self-preservation, and at the first sign of danger, humans will eat each other to make sure they remain alive. He trusts that humans can't be trusted and laughs while trust erodes around him. When his plan falls apart because of the goodness of people, he then curses everything and says, "You can't trust anyone these days," basically. And that's just like how Gordon, Batman, and Harvey Dent feel so many times in this movie. They feel like they can't trust anybody. What about poker faces? Both of the main villains in this movie have something weird going on with their faces. We got Two-Face and we got Joker, a dude who paints his face. Then we got Batman, who's also obscuring his face with a mask. Earlier in the movie, Batman says that Gotham needs a hero with a face.
Gotham needs a hero with a face. Look at this face. This is the face of Gotham's bright future.
And at the end of the movie, Joker disguises hostages as his minions by putting clown masks over their faces. And finally, what's the most important part of poker? Money. It's the reason we all play. Money, specifically the mob's money, drives a lot of the action in this movie. Whether it's Gordon investigating radiated bills, hitting the last game in town by raiding all of the mob's banks, or Joker literally setting the mob's money ablaze. What about Two-Face's coin? That's technically money, and when you think about it, it kind of reminds you a little bit of a poker chip. So what does it all mean? First, I think it's best to look at poker as a metaphor for the plot of the movie. There's a variety of interesting players, lots of money at stake, and there's a set of rules governing how Gotham's society runs. But it's not always a fair game. Sometimes the people who don't deserve it end up winning because of a lucky draw. Life isn't always fair either, and sometimes you play with truly chaotic players who don't have any rhyme or reason to what they're doing at the table. Kind of like the Joker. Poker is fascinating too because good players can almost rig the game in their favor. They call it exploitative poker, and it's basically just you bullying other players at the table and preying on their weaknesses to get an advantage. A game like poker is a brilliant metaphor for both this story and life in general. The Joker is like that wild guy at the table, splashing money around, betting big, and putting you in really tough situations where you have to make a tough decision. In the movie, he also puts Batman and Gotham in general in a blender a lot of the time. And he does this by giving them seemingly impossible decisions, like Bruce's decision to either save Rachel or Harvey Dent, or Joker's ultimatum to Batman that if he doesn't turn himself in, cops are going to die. And then, when you make a tough fold, this chaotic person decides to show you his hand and reveal to everybody at the table that he had nothing. Kind of like how Joker switched Rachel and Harvey Dent's location, thus double-crossing Batman. In poker, they refer to players like these as maniacs. Seriously, you should go look it up. And it fits perfectly, obviously, to describe a guy like the Joker. The Joker doesn't care about what everybody else cares about. As Alfred said, he's not a man that can be bought, bullied, or reasoned with. He just literally wants to watch the world burn. So losing money doesn't matter to him, and because of that, he's able to do things that many other players find confusing. Poker is also a mano-a-mano type game. It's not like soccer or football where you work together as a team to defeat the other team. No, poker is a game where it's every man or woman against everybody else. And near the end of the movie, Gotham City feels like a city divided against itself. Nobody trusts anybody. It's every man or woman for themselves. The Joker says that these people will eat each other at the first sign of trouble.
When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other.
And that's something that poker accomplishes really well. It kind of brings out the worst in people sometimes. Two-Face, in one of my favorite quotes of the movie, says that the only morality in a cruel world is chance. I don't love that worldview, but I think it's a really interesting statement, and it fits with the poker theme perfectly. The game of poker on its face is a really fair game. Everybody gets 2 cards to start out, it's completely random, and the strength of your starting hand is left completely up to chance. Where it starts getting unfair is when one player has a 90% chance of winning, and on the final card, a miracle hits, and the other player who had a 10% chance of winning steals the pot. It happens. Poker is a crazy game. It's illogical, right? There's no logic to what card comes next in the deck. You're just at the mercy of these 52 cards. Poker is simultaneously fair, illogical, and based on a set of rules. And it represents the 3 main ideologies of this movie. Batman has rules and tries his best to abide by them. The Joker wants to live in anarchy, a system without logic. And Two-Face is all about making things fair. At the end of the movie, Two-Face flips a coin to decide which members of Commissioner Gordon's family get to live or die. Even though it's fair, it's also disturbing and cruel, which is something that poker can totally be at times. And do you remember how the Joker is defeated? The people on the boats, first off, call his bluff and don't detonate the other boat. And then we have Batman. He creates a sonar system that allows him to see all of Gotham City. Imagine how easy it would be to win at the game of poker if you could see all of the cards that everybody else had. Batman essentially cheats and rigs the game in his favor. There's so much more in this movie worth talking about, like the endless skyscraper shots, dogs, and talk of burning things. Like that shows up so many times in this movie, both in dialogue and visually. Perhaps in another video I can cover them, I'm not sure. For now, I hope you can stick with what I've dealt you. Hey, if you like this video, consider subscribing to my Substack. I have a written version of this video on there, and I release new articles weekly breaking down different films. It's free to subscribe, so I hope you come join me over there. The link is in the description. Also, please feel free to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel, and let me know in the comments what you liked about this movie, what messages you saw in The Dark Knight, and what movies I could possibly do in the future. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.